Greetings, YouTube. I had a request the other day from one Royal Locks with a Z at the end for my top 5 role-playing games. So I spent last night at work thinking about it, and I came up with my top 5 and some honorable mentions. So first, number 5. That would be Gurps. Now, I'm going to say right off the bat, I'm not really thrilled with Gurps mechanically. I think Gurps is good if you're going to be doing low-powered games in a number of different genres, but I don't think it does high fantasy well, and it does supers horribly. So why is it on my list? Because it has awesome supplements. Now, I have first through 3rd edition supplements in my collection. I never really got into 4th edition. But Gurps had some of the best supplements I had ever read from that era. They were just top-notch. In particular, some of my favorites were the alternate history books. There were 2 of those, and Biotech. The 3rd edition of Biotech was just incredible. I've read that book 3 dozen times. It is just so good. Okay, number 4 would be Cyberpunk 2020. Cyberpunk was the original game in that genre, and no game has ever nailed the flavor of that genre as well as Cyberpunk 2020. Yes, I realize that originally it was Cyberpunk 2013, and they came up with another version, an updated version of Cyberpunk 2020. I still have both of those versions on that shelf behind me. In fact, I think, yeah, they're on the top shelves. They're not really all that easy to see. And if I were to run Cyberpunk today, I don't think I'd use Cyberpunk 2020. I still use it as inspiration because, like I said, it nailed the flavor of that era and of the style of the game. But I think I would probably use the Mutant Epoch. That game has a better selection of the things I want in a Cyberpunk game. It's got cybernetics, it's got psychic powers, it's got mutations, and I would do something not quite Judge Dredd, not the world quite that divided, but still big blast zones and areas that are uninhabited by civilized folks, and then mega cities all over the place and isolated communities and things like that. Which I think has a nice feel to it. Not, somewhere between Cyberpunk and Car Wars, maybe. And it doesn't have any net hacking rules, and that is a feature, not a bug. I so hate cyber hacking rules. They are just horrible. Nothing slows a game down more than having one guy roleplay with the GM while everyone else sits there and goes, not fun. Okay, number 3 on my list. That would be Star Frontiers. I think Star Frontiers hit it for me because from my background, Star Frontiers had the feel to me of Arc 2, Space 1999. Kind of a halfway point between Star Trek and Star Wars. And it had the most awesome aliens. The insect Vrusk, the gliding simian Yazarans, and the Dralicites. Big bags of protoplasmic goo, and they were just so cool. There were also 2 other races, I believe, that were also made available in a ladder supplement. Their names are escaping me at the moment. One was a little short dwarf mercantile group, and the other one was kind of thin and spindly, if I remember correctly, covered in scales. But a great, great game. And all the entire Star Frontiers game is legally free for anyone that wants it. So, go get a copy. It is well worth your time. Okay, number 2 on my list. That would be the 1992 version of Gamma World. I've done a review of that on this channel already. Absolutely my favorite post-apocalyptic game from that era. I have so many fond memories of that game. It was such a great time. Though, like I said, if I were to run a game today to find a game that is supported, I would probably use the Mutant Epoch. Just because it's available now, it's going to be easier for people to get a hold of. They're still putting out material for it. In fact, I just ordered a copy of the Mall of Doom, and it should actually be at my shipping address at this point. And of course, my number 1 game, and that would be Dungeons & Dragons, the classic D&D. And my favorite version of that would be Pathfinder. But I have a love for the entire 3rd edition OGL class, and I have fond memories of the 1st and 2nd edition. And what I love about the OGL so much is it gave us so many games. Yes, some of them were crap, but some of them were just great and some were outright awesome. It gave us Pathfinder. I still say that the OGL is the greatest gift our hobby has ever received. Hands down. Now for a few honorable mentions. One I'm going to have to say would be Savage Worlds. I think if you're actually looking for a generic game that's going to be able to cover a whole lot of different genres, I think that Savage Worlds will do it for you. Unfortunately, I've become even less enamored of late with games that use action points, bennies, player currency, call them what you will. I don't like them. I don't want to deal with it as a GM, and I won't use them as a player. So it's just not going to be a game I'm going to want to run. But I think if you like that kind of mechanic of player currency, of bennies, kind of where you can spend points to get benefits, Savage Worlds does it well, and I think overall it's a solid game. And I've heard good things about the new deluxe version. I haven't had a chance to read it. I don't know when and if I ever will get around to doing it. I have so many games in my reading queue as it is. In fact, I just got a request yesterday for one. Another honorable mention would be HARP, which is High Action Role Playing, I think it is. And that would be my backup if I wanted to do fantasy and I didn't want to use D&D. But I would add one caveat. I would use the simplified combat rules that were in the Bazaar Annual, because the standard rules are just too complex for my taste. It harkens far too much back to the memories of Rollmaster, or as we used to call it, Chartmaster. And the last honorable mention is the Mutant Epoch. It's an awesome game. They're putting stuff out for it. The player support is unreal. I'll be talking about some of the player support in another video in the near future. I have to read up a little on some of the things that they've actually produced for the players, for the people who have purchased the game. But it's rock solid. It nails the flavor of the post-apocalyptic genre. And I go look at I did a review and I did a character generation video as well. So go check them out. It's worth your time. So those are the honorable mentions I made. So, question for the audience out there. What are your 5 favorite games that you just can't live without?